This is the story of Senator Harlan Voss, 11 years in office, 3 committee chairs, a man his state trusted with their money, their roads, their futures. A man who, on a Tuesday morning in October, transferred $42,000 into an account that should not have existed. His opponent found it. A researcher found it, technically, and once she found it, everything else followed like a thread pulled loose from a hem. Harlan Voss was first elected in an off-cycle special election, the kind that nobody watches closely. His predecessor had resigned over a real estate dispute, nothing dramatic, just tired. Voss ran on competence. He was a former county auditor. He wore it like a credential because it was one. He knew how money moved. He knew where it was supposed to go. He won by 11 points, then won again by 14, then again by 19. By his 4th term, he sat on the Senate Appropriations Committee, which is not a glamorous assignment, but is, in terms of raw influence, one of the most powerful seats in any legislative body. Appropriations decides what gets funded: defense contracts, infrastructure bids, research grants. The numbers that flow through that committee in a single session are larger than the economies of most countries. Voss was known for 2 things: being difficult to read and being meticulously prepared. Staffers said he read every line of every bill. Lobbyists found him frustrating because he never gave a clear signal. Reporters found him boring because he never said anything quotable. He had a wife, 2 adult children, and a lake house in the northern part of the state. He coached youth soccer for 12 years and stopped only when his youngest left for college. He was, by every visible measure, the most unremarkable senator in his state in recent memory. That was not an accident. The opponent in that final election cycle was a woman named Dana Weil. She had served 2 terms in the state legislature, run a small infrastructure non-profit before that, and was considered a credible but unlikely challenger. The polling had Voss ahead by 8 points going into September. Will hired a research team of 3 people. Standard opposition work: voting records, donor lists, public filings, travel expenses. The kind of research that rarely turns up anything devastating. It mostly confirms what everyone already suspected and gives the campaign something to quote in a debate. One of the researchers, a 26-year-old named Priya Anand, was assigned to cross-reference committee votes by Voss with federal contractor donation records. It was considered the dull part of the assignment. She had done it dozens of times and found nothing more than the usual soft relationships that existed between every politician and every industry that touched their jurisdiction. She almost moved on. The transfer was not in the donation records. It was in a supplemental filing from a defense contractor called Meridian Systems, a mid-sized firm that had submitted a bid for a communications infrastructure contract worth $91 million over 5 years. The filing had been submitted as part of a federal transparency audit. It had sat in a public database for 7 months without anyone reading it carefully enough. The transfer was $42,000. It moved from a Meridian-affiliated LLC into a personal account registered to a trust held in the name of the wife of the senator under her maiden name. The date on the transfer was October 14th. The Appropriations Committee vote on the Meridian contract was October 17th. Voss had voted yes. The contract had passed by 1 vote. Priya flagged it on a Wednesday afternoon. By Thursday morning, the campaign legal counsel had reviewed the documents. By Thursday evening, they had passed the full file to 2 investigative journalists, both of whom confirmed the paper trail independently before the weekend. The office of the senator had no comment on Thursday night. On Friday morning, they released a statement saying the senator was reviewing the matter with his attorneys. By Friday noon, 3 major outlets had published the story in full: the wire transfer amount, the LLC name, the trust, the 3-day gap. By Friday at 2 p.m., the office of the Senate Majority Leader had issued a statement that was, in the careful language of institutional politics, the equivalent of opening an emergency exit and pointing at it without making eye contact. At 4:47 p.m. on a Friday, Harlan Voss submitted his formal resignation from the United States Senate. His letter was 4 sentences long. He cited his family. He cited his health. He did not cite the transfer, the LLC, or the contract. He did not mention Meridian. He did not mention October 14th. The people who needed to know already knew. The people who did not need to know were already reading about it. Meridian Systems released a statement denying any improper payments. The company attorneys argued the LLC transfer was a legally structured consulting fee related to a different project, one predating the committee vote by 18 months in original agreement terms, and that October reflected only a disbursement schedule. The federal investigation that opened the following January did not find that argument compelling. Two of the Meridian senior executives were eventually indicted on separate charges related to bid structuring. Voss himself was not charged. His attorneys maintained that the trust technically was not his. Technically, the money went to his wife. Technically, he could not be proven to have directed it. Technically, Priya Anand was hired by a national newspaper 4 months after the election. She does not talk about the case in public. Her editor says she is methodical, careful, and rarely impressed by her own work. Dana Weil won the Senate seat by 6 points. She serves on the Appropriations Committee now. She has not said publicly whether that is intentional. The part of this story that stays with me is not the transfer itself. It is not even the timing, though the timing is almost too clean to be coincidence. $42,000. 3 days before a $91 million vote. One vote margin. The part that stays with me is the 11 years. 11 years of coaching soccer and reading every line of every bill and cultivating a reputation for being unreadable. 11 years of building exactly the kind of trust that makes a single wire transfer invisible to anyone who is not looking for it specifically, on purpose, on a Wednesday afternoon with nowhere else to be. He was not careless. He was not visibly greedy. He was patient and careful, and exactly what a corrupt official needs to be in order to remain uncorrupt-looking for over a decade. And it still only took one researcher, one overlooked filing, and one Wednesday afternoon to bring all of it down. There is a version of this story where Priya Anand looks at that date, decides the timing is probably a coincidence, closes the tab, and moves on to the next item on her list. That version exists. She almost lived it. Think about what that means for every story like this one that never had a Priya Anand in it.